what if I told you that SKIRK is stronger than Malvika against a pyro slime? Well, you heard me right. SKIRK power creeps Malvika against a pyro slime and is therefore the strongest DPS in the game, no questions asked. Alright, jokes aside, SKIRK is a really complex unit but still a really strong one. In fact, I will say this straight away, she is much better than Ayaka for all those wondering. But you might say that the calculations show Ayaka's DPS as 102,000 while SKIRK's DPS is 106,000. Then how is she much better? Well, you're totally right in thinking that. However, the issue with Ayaka is that she is never able to reach her max theoretical damage because of many factors. The primary one being the fact that her burst generally doesn't hit the enemy continuously because the enemy just moves out of the way, and that's a big chunk of her damage. So even if she is better than Ayaka, is she the most violent? Is she the most diabolical? Is she the most dangerous? Is she the god of all gods and the ultimate meta breaker everyone was expecting? No, that she ain't. But she's still pretty strong. In fact, I would rate her as the second best DPS in the game after Malvika, because honestly,
can't no man knock me out. I'm tired of being humble. I'm tired of letting people think they got a chance.
But what holds SKIRK back are her team building restrictions, which confine her to freeze teams only and other archetypes can go to hell. So today, we're going to be discussing the teams which enable you to reach her max damage potential while also discussing their viability and comfortness. We will also discuss Constellations because she has some really insane ones which contribute to her total damage potential. And I promise you that once you see this video, you will have no doubts whatsoever regarding her damage, team comms and Constellations. But if you still have any questions after watching this video fully,
I have so many questions!
then make sure to drop them down in the comments below and I'll respond to each and every one of you individually. Now let's get the ball rolling and start with our general rotation. To begin by using your support abilities which will generate at least 2 voids on the field by the time you switch to SKIRK. Then press E to gain 45 Batman points and enter the Dark Knight state, changing her normal attacks to cryo-infused normal attacks and converting her burst into the special burst. Next, use this special burst to absorb all nearby voids, gaining either 16 or 24 Batman points depending on how many voids were absorbed, while also getting a damage bonus based on the number of voids consumed. Now begin spamming her normal attacks and complete her full normal attack cycle twice. At this point, if you had absorbed 2 voids with her burst, then there will be 3 voids on the field, with vice versa also being true. Now do a charge attack which deals damage to the enemy and absorbs all nearby voids, granting an additional 16 or 24 Batman points. After that, continue spamming her normal attacks until the Dark Knight state ends, which is typically 1 more full normal attack cycle followed by 3 to 4 extra normal attacks depending on your ping. Now if you're confused about what I just yapped, then I would suggest watching my last video to understand her kit perfectly, because that is obviously a prerequisite to understand how her kit and teams function. So this part in the beginning where we set up everything is what we are here to discuss today. Starting off with her best team, Cryo Queens and the Abyssal Diva. This team consisting of Coffee, Shenhe and Furina is the most premier, top-notch, elite comp you can get for insane damage. In fact, if we disregard the fact that you need to spend $1,000 to get all the units, this team is doing more damage than the best neuvillette team in a single target scenario. However, since most players don't have the money to spend on getting units back to back, especially in this economy, you could also use the decaf comp with Charlotte instead of Coffee. But obviously this team's damage will be much lower than the premium team, as Charlotte is more of a healer than a sub DPS. Now if you don't have Shenhe, then you can also use the Domi Mommy comp with Yelan instead of Shenhe. Though this team's DPS is slightly less than that of Shenhe's team, but honestly, as long as you can clear endgame content with it, it hardly matters. But what if you don't have Shenhe or Yelan? Well, in that case, you can use the Abyssal Granny comp with Citlali on scroll, and this team's DPS is almost equal to the Yelan team while also providing a shield for SKIRK, even though the shield is shit. So till now you must have noticed that SKIRK is heavily reliant on Coffee and Furina. But what if you don't have those units? Well, in that case, you can literally just use any permutation and combination of Hydro or Cryo characters and you are good to go. For example, since we know that SKIRK's main source of damage is normal attacking, you can use Yelan instead of Furina or even Xingqiu. But do keep in mind that those are the only 2 I would recommend as substitutes for Furina, because SKIRK teams require at least 1 Hydro hydro unit to enable freeze so that her kit functions properly. Now besides these two, you can also use co-op picks like Nilu, Sijuin, Ayato, or even Barbara or Kokomi on TDDS. But of course, like I said before, these teams will do a lot less damage than the premium team. As for the alternatives to Coffee, I am afraid that there aren't that many good ones, but I'd recommend Yelan, Citlali, Furina or Charlotte. And if you don't have both Coffee and Furina, then mix and match all of the units I have mentioned till now while keeping at least one Hydro unit in the team to enable freeze. Now, one special comp I would like to mention is the iShow Speed comp with Dahlia and Mika instead of Coffee and Shenna. These two units provide a total of 40% attack speed for SKIRK, which means you can do more normal attacks than usual, though it's more of a meme comp as its damage is not that significant. As for her other playstyle, the only team I would recommend for it is the Mona comp, as that will result in the highest burst damage, and that's literally the aim of burst bot SKIRK rotation. And if you have been enjoying this video so far, then a sub to the channel would guarantee you a 50-50 win on the SKIRK banner. And if you want to support even more, join the channel memberships to gain exclusive perks like directly DMing me on Discord or even a Genshin account review. So now that we are done with teams, let's discuss Constellations. Constellation 1 unlocks an additional cryo hit on the enemy for each void absorbed, and this damage is considered as charge attack damage. So on average, this provides a 20% overall damage increase over C0. Moving on to her second constellation, this one grants her an additional 10 points whenever her skill is cast regardless of what version of the skill was used. On top of that, her animated burst damage is increased further for up to a total of 72 points. Or if you had just tapped the skill button and entered the Dark Knight state, then she'd have gained an additional 70% attack on top of the 10 extra points. Overall, this constellation gives an average 22% increase over C1. As for her third constellation, this one increases the level of her burst by 3, which in turn increases the damage dealt by her animated burst and also increases the buff provided by her special burst. All in all, it's a minor increase if you're doing her normal attack rotation, cause the buff provided by her burst isn't anything substantial. But if you're doing her burst bot rotation, then it's a major increase. Moving on to her fourth constellation, which grants her 10, 20 or 40% attack bonus based on the number of cryo or hydro units in the party. Effectively, this adds around a 10% damage increase compared to the previous constellation. Constellation 5 just increases the level of her skill by 3, which means more damage from her cryo infused normal attacks, and it's a 16% damage increase over the previous constellation. As for her sixth constellation, this one grants her a stack of something called Sever each time she absorbs a void for up to 3 stacks. Now whenever she uses her animated burst after holding E, she'll deal an additional cryo coordinated attack for each severed stack she has. Or if you just tap E and start spamming her normal attacks, she'll deal an additional 3 cryo coordinated attacks on every third and fifth hit of her normal attack cycle. Also, if you take damage while having severed stacks, the damage received is reduced by 80% while also unleashing 3 cryo coordinated attacks. Overall, C6 offers an 18% damage increase over C5 and a 125% increase compared to C0. Now, I'd say that her constellation breakpoints are C2, C5 and C6, as I feel those provide the most value of them all. With all this being said, should you pull for her or not? Well, that depends on a few things. First, do you like SKIRK? If you do and don't care that much about damage numbers, then go ahead and pull her. But if performance does matter to you, then consider this. Do you already have both Coffee and Furina? If so, she is worth pulling. If not, then it's probably better to skip. Now, you know what I was thinking? I feel like trying to run SKIRK long term will require significant investments with all the new cryo and hydro characters that are gonna be coming out in Nordcry and Snezhnaya. Especially for Shenhe, cause I feel she's about to get power crept real soon. But hey,
that's just a theory. A game theory.